give a very warm welcome for Melanie Dunea.
In downtown Chicago, and my mother had a bookstore, an independent bookstore, and it was a tiny little bookstore connected to the Drake Hotel. And if you've seen Risky Business, the movie, then when Guido the Killer Pimp and Tom Cruise are having their chase, they run right by the bookstore. So it was like the claim to fame of the bookstore. My mother was very particular about this bookstore. There were no paperbacks, heavy on the royalty, you know, royalty theme. And she would only have books in this store that she actually wanted. So this bookstore was located on the same block that I grew up in. So at the age of 7, I wasn't allowed to cross the street, but I was allowed to work in the bookstore because I didn't have to cross the street. So my mother milked that hard. She would be like, you know, can you go to the bookstore? I have to run and get coffee. Can you run the bookstore? And apparently there's some famous story that I was manning the bookstore by myself at the age of 7. And somebody came in and asked for the joy of sex, and I was like, oh, it's right over here. Like I knew exactly where it was. I don't remember that, but I'm sure it's true, actually. So all I really wanted, you know, I felt so lucky to be surrounded by books and have whatever books I wanted and not have to pay for the books, but really what I wanted was TV. And every time I asked for TV, my parents were like, use your inner resources. Like, you don't need TV, just use your imagination. Books, imagination, we'll wake up at 11, sort yourself out. So I pined for TV. I would go to friends' houses and they had like Atari, and they had TVs, and I would just be like, you know, on a play date, but I would be drawn to the TV. So, no TV. I wasn't getting a TV. So my father went to Japan and he came back with like an AM/FM radio thing for me with headphones. So I was like mesmerized by this because there were like talk shows and there was all this stuff like Dr. Ruth, and I mean I was 7, but mind you at 6 they put me on an airplane to Australia by myself, so I was sort of advanced. So I started to listen to the radio at night, and I somehow figured out that one of the stations was actually a TV station. So they were piping the TV through the radio. And then I got crafty because across the street in the back of my house I could see a TV. So then I got double smart and started this covert mission where I found some binoculars, put my headphones on, and I fucking watched Frosty the Snowman. I was like against, and the, you know, the steam, and I had figured out a way that I could put my head and the binoculars on the glass and not have to hold them. It was kind of a long shot, you know. So I watched that, and I watched, you know, Rudolph, and I was so into it, and I was like hiding, and it was so fun, and it was great. And then one day I saw this like brother and sister, and it was, I later found out from going to friends' houses, it was Donnie and Marie Osmond. Oh my God, I was like so into it. They were everything that I wasn't. They probably had, you know, dinner at 5:30 together. They were this perfect family. She was so beautiful. He was so cute. Like, I just wanted to be them so badly. So I would watch that show, you know, and they'd be like, where are you? And I was like, oh no, you know, like taking off all my stuff, hiding the binoculars. So I was really into Donnie and Marie. Only through the binoculars. I never saw the show any other way. So Halloween rolls around, and I decided I was sick of wearing my Bozo the Clown plastic costume because I'd worn it for 2 years in a row. So I said to my dad, will you please take me to Walgreens? Like, I'd like to buy a new costume. So he said, of course, we'll go to Walgreens. So we go to Walgreens, and I remember that the table, it was a long table full of all these plastic costumes. I mean, it was just, you know, a cornucopia of, I was bliss. And I walked along, and I didn't know what costume I wanted until I saw the costume. I had to be Marie Osmond, obviously. I found the costume, I picked it up in this box, I took it to my father, who was over in, like, you know, whatever, the deodorant aisle, and I said, I found the costume, like, here it is. And he said, okay, great, 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 you know, you can have it. So I went home, and the next day we were having, I was walked to school in my costume, and I remember that we had to do a parade, and then we had to do something with sticks, like, I don't really remember, but like knocking on the sticks, like there was a parade, a Halloween parade. So I got to school, and in my costume, and I loved it. It was like this plastic perfection of, it's kind of Western. I remember there was like a Western shirt imprinted on it. There was a mask with like 2 little holes right here, short hair, and these jeans, and it just felt so good. I was a fucking awesome. So I'm sitting in my seat waiting, because I know what we have to do. We practice it the day before. We're going to have to go, and then we're going to parade, and we're going to go up on the thing. And I'm sitting there waiting, and I'm like super excited, and I look over, and literally the world stopped. And then the spotlight came on, and this beautiful vision approached me, which was in this pink version of what I was wearing, with this blue divine eyeshadow and this like perfect hair. And she moved towards me and she said, "Hello, Donnie." And I said, "Hello, Marie." "Hi." She said, "Wouldn't it be so fun if we hold hands and like parade across the stage together?" And literally, I really remember, I was talking earlier about like chapters in your life. I remember thinking to myself, get it together. Like, lose your shit behind this plastic mask, you just can't. So I said, it would be so fun. And we held hands, and she swayed across the stage, looking so beautiful, and I was Donnie. That taught me to read really fast. Couldn't read the box, was too young to read the box. So I've actually never told that story or thought about that story since. But I remember I went home, I never told anybody that story. And then a few years ago, I got a phone call from a photographer, and my agent said, you know, I don't remember if it was Ladies Home Journal or something, wants you to, I think it was People, wants you to shoot Marie Osmond for the cover of People. And I was like, absolutely not. She said, why? I said, oh, it's too long of a story.